So we graph our points. -3, -1, -2, -3, 0. -2, -3. -1, -4. 0, -3. 1, 0. So here we have -3, 0, -2, -3, -1, -4, 0, -3, 1, 0. There we have our U-shape or V-shape function. Now all we have to do is connect the points using a smooth curve. Now we have two x-intercepts. Where does the graph intersect our x-axis? Well, it intersects our x-axis at -3 and at 1. So the zeros are the functions will be zeros of the function will be x equals -3 and x equals 1. Okay? Those are the zeros of the function. So this is one way of finding the zeros of the function. Our second method is by factoring. Now, example 2, they're telling us to find the zeros of the function by factoring. And we have f of x equals x squared minus 8x plus 12. Now, when we talk about factoring, in this case, since we're factoring quadratic equation, notice that the leading degree or the degree of this polynomial or of this function is squared. That means it must have two zeros or two roots. So to factorize means to find two numbers, two factors that are going to be equal to 0. So when they ask us to find the zeros of the function by factoring, they're telling us to find two factors, a and b times b, which is equal to 0. Okay? This means a equals 0 or b equal to 0, because if a equals 0, 0 times b, 0. If b equals 0, a times b, a times 0, 0. Or both a and b are equal to 0. Now, before we start factoring, there are many different ways of factoring. The standard form of a quadratic function is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. One way of factoring is when a is equal to 1. If a equals 1, if this equals 1, then we have to find factors of c. Factors of c whose sum is equal to b. Factors of c whose sum equals b. Here we have an example. Let's factorize f of x equals x squared minus 7x plus 6. Notice, a equals 1, b equals -7, and c equals 6. Since a equals 1, let's find factors of 6, of c, in this case 6, whose sum equals b, in this case -1. So all the factors of 6 are the following: 1 times 6, 6. -1 times -6, 6. 2 times 3, 6. -2 times -3, 6. These are all factors of 6. Now, once we find the factors, let's add them. 1 plus 6, 7. -1 plus -6, -7. 2 plus 3, 5. -2 plus -3, -5. So which one is equals to b? The second one, right? Because -1 plus -6 equals -7. Remember, in this case, b was equal to -7. So what do we do next? X squared, we split it up. Instead of writing x squared, we write x and x. And the factors whose sum was equal to b, que era negative 1, negative 6, negative 1 minus 1, negative 6 minus 6 equals 0. So this will be, once we get here, all we have to do is simplify or solve. So going back to example 2, they want us to find the zeros of the function by factoring. Notice again, in this case, a equals 1, b equals negative 8, c equals positive 12. So what do we have to do here? Since a equals 1, we must find factors of 12. So let's find all factors of 12. 1 times 12, or negative 1 times negative 12. 2 times 6, or negative 2 times negative 6. 3 times 4, or negative 3 times negative 4. All right? Those are all the factors for 12. Now, let's add them and see which one is equal to b. In this case, b is negative 8. So let's add them. 1 plus 12, 13. Negative 1 minus 12, negative 13. 2 plus 6, 8. Negative 2 minus 6, negative 8. 3 plus 4, 7. Negative 3 minus negative 4, plus negative 4, negative 7. So our factors equal negative 8, is negative 2 minus 6. So we're going to split up x squared. X equals 0. Y nos queda minus 2 minus 6. Okay? Now we solve. How we're going to solve this? Okay, we're going to split up these two. We're going to get x minus 2 equals 0. Y x minus 6 equals 0. Now we solve for x. We pass negative 2 to the other side, and we get x equals 0. If we were subtracting on this side, we add on the other side. X equals 0 plus 2, 2. X minus 6 equals 0. We pass negative 6 to the other side. X equals 0. If we were subtracting here, we add on the other side. 0 plus 6, 6. So the zeros of the function in this case, the function was f of x equals x squared minus 8x plus 12 are x equals 2 and x equals 6. Okay, so this is what we do when our quadratic function, the value of a is equal to 1. Now, if we look at part B, it says g of x equals 3x squared plus 12x. Notice, in this case, a equals 3, b equals 12, c, we don't have c, that means that c equals 0. What do we have to do if c equals 0? We do the following. If c equals 0, all we have to do is find the greatest common factors of 3x squared and 12x. Notice, 3 and 12 are divisible by 3, so that's one of the factors in common. And notice that they both have x in common. So how many x's in common? Just 1. Now we factorize. Let's see. 3x times what equals 3x squared? 3x times x. 3x times what equals 12x? Plus 4. Again, since c was equal to 0, all we have to do is find the greatest common factors. 3 and 12 are divisible by 3. X squared and x have one x in common. Now we factorize by greatest common factor. 3x times what equals 3x squared? 3x times x. 3x times x, 3x squared. 3x times what equals 12x? Times positive 4. 3x times positive 4, 12x. Okay? Now, this is equal, 3x times x plus 4 has to be equal to 0. Now that we have equals 0, we split this up in a scale and we get 3x equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. Now we solve for x. We want to leave x by itself. Since this is multiplication, we divide both sides by 3. And we get that x equals 0 divided by 3. 0 divided by 3 equals 0. Second part, x plus 4 equals 0. Let's solve for x, so let's leave x by itself. We pass plus 4 to the other side, and we get x equals 0 minus 4. 0 minus 4, negative 4. So the zeros of the function are x equals 0 and x equals negative 4. Now we have special products and factors. Okay, this is very important to learn them because it will be very helpful for the rest of your school years. Okay, so we have special products and factors. Look at this. What happens when we have a squared minus b squared? See, there is a difference. We're subtracting two squares. We call this difference of two squares. Of two squares. So when we have the difference of two squares, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. Okay, so whenever you have the difference of two squares, then that is equal to a plus b minus times a minus b. So if we look at example 4 part A, dice, find the roots of each equation. So the roots are, for part A, and the equation is 9x squared equals 1. So we have 9x squared equals 1. Let's make this equal 0. How do we make this equal 0? We pass plus 1 to the other side. And we get 9x squared, se queda positive 1, minus 1 equals 0. Yeah? Notice that we can write this 9x squared minus 1 as a difference of squares. How do we do that? 9 has a perfect square. Okay, it's 3. X squared has a perfect square. Okay, it's x. So 3x squared equals 9x squared. Minus 1 has a perfect square. Okay, it's 1. 1 squared equals 1. So this is equal to 0. So all of this is A and this is B. A squared minus B squared equals 0. A squared minus B squared equals 0. So this is equal to A plus B times A minus B. So that means 3x plus 1 times 3x minus 1 equals 0. Got it? A is 3x, b equals 1. A squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. In this case, 3x plus 1 times 3x minus 1. Now we solve for x. So that means 3x plus 1 equals 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Now we solve for x. Pass 1 to the other side. 3x equals 0 minus 1. 3x equals negative 1. Now we divide by 3. And we get that x equals negative 1/3. Now the other part, 3x minus 1 equals 0. Pass negative 1 to the other side. And we get 3x equals 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Divided by 3. X equals 1/3. And there we have. So this will be finding the roots of the equation, in this case using special products, que es el difference of squares. Okay? Let's do another special product called perfect square trinomials. Perfect square trinomials. Square trinomials. Okay? Perfect squares trinomials. That is, if we have a function in the form a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared, okay, this is equal to a minus b squared. A minus b squared. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared equals a minus b squared. When do we use this? Look at example 4b. It says 40x equals 8x squared plus 50. So let's rewrite this in a standard form. Let's pass 40x and let's write it in here. So we get 8x squared. If here we had positive 40x, it would be minus 40x plus 50. Okay. And all of this has to be equal to 0. Before we start, notice 8, 40, and 50, 8, 40, and 50, they're all divisible by 2. So we can factorize by greatest common factor. 2 times 4x squared minus 20x plus 25 equals 0. Divide by 2 on both sides. And we get 4x squared minus 20x plus 25 equals 0 divided by 2, 0. Okay. Now let's go back and look at the perfect square trinomial a minus b squared. Look, this is a, this is b. A, b. A is 4. Can we write 4 as a perfect square? Yes, we can. 2 squared, x squared. And 25, can we write it as a perfect square? Yes, we can. 5 squared. Ahora, 2 times a times b. 2 times 5 times what equals 20? 2 times 5 times 4, right? Yes? Entonces tenemos 2 minus 2, this 2. What was the value of a? Times 2. And the value of b? Times 5x. Okay? Now notice, 2 squared and x squared, we can write it as 2x squared minus 2 times 5x plus 5 squared equals 0. And now we have it as a perfect square trinomial, meaning all of this is a. This is a, this is b, and this is b. A squared times minus 2ab x plus b squared. Entonces, el perfect square trinomial dice que es a minus b, o sea, a2 minus b5, 2x minus b5 squared equals 0. Now, what does 2x minus 5 squared means? It means 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5 equals 0. Yes? 2x minus 5 squared is equal to 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5 equals 0. Now we solve. 2x minus 5 equals 0. 2x minus 5 equals 0. We solve for x. That's -5 to the other side. 2x equals 0 plus 5. 0 plus 5. 5 divided by 2. X equals 5/2 or 2 1/2. Same on the other side. 2x equals 0 plus 5. 2x equals 0 plus 5 is 5. Divided by 2. X equals 5/2 or 2 1/2. Notice that we have the same result. Yes? This is called double root. It means that the graph intersects the x-axis at exactly 1 point, at 5/2. So our graph, let's suppose that here is we have 2 1/2. So our graph intersects the x-axis only at 2 1/2 or 5/2. This is the same for the special product or factors a squared plus 2ab plus b squared equals, that is equal to a plus b squared. Okay? It is similar to that. A minus b squared, a plus b squared. Okay? Now, the last example, example 5. It says, write a quadratic function in a standard form with zeros 2 and -1. We know the zeros now. Now we have to write a quadratic function. Since the zeros are 2 and -1, this means that x equals 2 and x equals -1. Right? So this is what happens. We pass 2 to the other side, and we pass -1 to the other side, and we get x. Si aquí era +2, on the other side it will be -2 equals 0. And if it was -1 on this side, on the other side it will be +1 equals 0. So we have x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. So we can simplify this by saying x minus 2 times x plus 1 equal 0. All right? Now we have to apply to write it in the equation in a standard form, remember the standard form of a quadratic function, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Yes? So what do we have to do? We're going to apply double distributive property. Okay, 2 times distributive property. First, we're going to multiply x times x, x squared. X times 1, 1x, just x. The second distributive property, negative 2 times x is negative 2 times 1. So, negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times 1, negative 2 equals 0. Now, we combine like terms, 1x minus 2x. So we get x squared. 1x minus 2x is negative 1x minus 2 equals 0. And that will be our equation in standard form. So we knew the roots, and now we have to find the equation. Example 1, 2, and 4, they gave us the equation and we were supposed to find the zeros of the function. So that's it, guys. I hope that you understand these four examples. If you have any questions, please, you can ask them via this platform, WhatsApp. Text me or send me a note voice asking your questions. And your assignment will be the following. So your assignment, your homework number 1, page 338, problems 4 through 44 by 4s. Okay, this is how you're going to present your homework, and I'll say this in Spanish so that your parents will understand. Bien, este trabajo lo van a hacer, ¿verdad? Como habitualmente lo hacen, en su hoja escriben las indicaciones en la parte superior. Homework number 1, page 338, problems 4 through 44 by 4s. Van a desarrollarla, van a tomarle foto a su tarea, ¿verdad? Cuando me refiero a foto es si utilizaron 3 páginas, pues foto a las 3 páginas, donde se observe claramente sus ejercicios con todo su desarrollo, paso a paso, tal y como fueron explicados en el video, ¿verdad? Aparte que vaya la foto, en la última página, en cada una de las páginas, en la parte inferior, va a ir su nombre, en cada una de las páginas, repito, en la parte inferior, su nombre y la firma de sus padres, porque ocupo de que ellos sepan lo que ustedes están haciendo. ¿Cuándo van a enviar estas fotos? Es de las imágenes de su tarea. El día martes 17 la voy a estar recibiendo a las 5 de la tarde. 5 de la tarde en punto. No antes de las 5. A las 5 de la tarde en punto van a enviar su tarea. Y la van a enviar desde las 5 de la tarde hasta las 5 y 10 de la tarde. O sea, tienen 10 minutos para enviar esas tareas. Tarea que entre después de las 5 y 10 va a ser considerada como tarea tarde. Y la otra situación es de que esas tareas, una vez que nos incorporemos a clases presenciales, hay que presentarlas para ponerle yo mi revisado en ellas, ¿verdad? A las 5:30 de la tarde yo voy a enviar una nota de audio con las respuestas para que chequeen las tareas, ¿verdad? Chequeen las tareas y que si hay cualquier duda, pues hacerlas en un horario, por favor, adecuado. Preferiblemente si pueden hacer sus comentarios o enviar sus comentarios en un transcurso de 8 de la mañana, 9 de la mañana a 4 de la tarde, preferiblemente con prudencia. Recuerden, jóvenes, tomar todas las medidas de precaución, ¿verdad? No estamos de vacaciones, no lo vean como tal, estamos Estamos queriendo prevenir esta enfermedad, es el coronavirus. Tomen las medidas de precaución, lavarse las manos, ¿verdad? Constantemente, cada vez que van a tocar alguna superficie o después de tocar una superficie, antes y después de cada alimento y antes y después de usar el baño sanitario. La mejor forma de cuidarnos contra el coronavirus es la prevención, y qué mejor que tener nuestras manos limpias, lavándolas con agua y jabón o utilizando un gel antibacterial, preferiblemente con 70% de alcohol. Estar pendientes a las plataformas. La siguiente tarea, ¿verdad?, la vamos a desarrollar el siguiente lunes. Cuidémonos,